Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's presentation on new charter orientation. In this presentation, we're going to talk about the general overview of student data collection in AzEDS, the payment system, and we're going to talk about budgets. I'm Monica Paz. I'm the account analyst lead for the school finance operations support team. Joining me today will be Ms. Chelsea Jemison of the payments team and Ms. Carla Dunn of the budgets team, who will have an opportunity to introduce themselves to you later today. Again, we have a lot to review today. So, in today's session, we're going to talk about our teams, how to contact us, student data, payments, and budgets. And since we have so much to review, I wanted to let you know that if you do have a question, you can type it in the chat. The chat feature is going to be monitored by a school finance staff. And again, this is a recorded session and it will be made available to you via PDF and hopefully posted online depending on how this session goes. Before we dive in, I wanted to inform you of upcoming charter trainings that the school finance ops team will be presenting in the weeks to come. We'll talk about the AzEDS instructional calendar, since that is one of the first things that you'll be submitting to ADE. We're going to then move on to defining integrity and ADM and how those things impact the data, as well as some of the reports that you can view. The school finance team, or our department, is comprised of teams. The SF analyst team, which is the team that I am on, also known as the operations support team, will assist you with student data, calendars, ADM reports, 915s. We'll talk about that later on in the trainings to come. If you need to contact school finance and you're unsure of which team you need to contact, you can email the school finance main inbox, and our our office manager, Shireen, will direct you to one of us. When you call the school finance main line, you'll be prompted to select from the following options. To get to the team that I am on, I am at option 3. All teams are available and logged into phones 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. In addition to calling the school finance main line, there are a few other ways to access the school finance team. The preferred method for reporting an issue is to create a help desk ticket. We'll talk about that in detail in a bit. On our website, you can view posted memos, previous trainings if you go to the knowledge link on the homepage. You can also see Hot Topics. In Hot Topics, the team will post a blog of recent changes, updates, or anything that you need to know, such as reminders for due dates. You can also sign up to subscribe to receive our emails. This will notify you when a hot topic has been posted. If you navigate to the school finance homepage, you'll see the button to subscribe to our emails. Okay, now we're going to shift gears and talk about the systems that are used by ADE to collect data. ADE Connect is a system that is used to manage all of the applications for the data that is sent to ADE. There are different units from within ADE that collect the data from you. We're going to talk about one of the student data applications over the next few slides. One of the first applications that you're going to use in ADE Connect is called Entity Administration. In this application, staff information is stored and roles are assigned. A role can be assigned based on the job description of your staff. Each role gives access or permissions to view certain data and reports that are available in ADE Connect and the AzEDS portal. As a new charter, a role of an entity admin will be assigned to the charter signer. Once you're given access to ADE Connect as an entity administrator, you will be able to log into the application for yourself. You'll be prompted to review a series of training videos before you can proceed. Once you've completed the training, you'll be able to add your own staff members and assign your own roles to your staff. Your assigned entity administrator will select the roles and permissions for your charter. The assigned entity administrator, or EA, can also assign additional entity administrators once you're logged in and you've completed the training. Here's a couple of examples of the roles that are specific to student data reports. There are many roles in the system, and not all of them are specific to school finance. I just wanted to point that out. In Entity Administrator, you will see roles for special education reports, English language reports, health and nutrition, grants, and so many more. ADE Connect can be accessed online through the AZ webpage, ADE's homepage, by clicking on ADE Connect and Common Logon. This will take you to the original version of the ADE Connect application. ADE's recently updated the look of the page, so I wanted to show you this in case by the time you're logging in, things permanently change. Here's the new face of ADE Connect. This is where you will access entity administration, AzEDS portal, which we'll talk about in a minute, and the help desk. In the previous slides, I mentioned how to contact school finance. I mentioned help desk, and it's the preferred method for how to contact us. Once you've established your accounts with an ADE, the help desk system is a ticketing system that allows us to track issues to ensure that our teams are responding in a more organized platform. It allows for better efficiency and transparency if you have to report an issue to ADE. Here's some of the reasons why you would submit a ticket to the SF analyst team via the help desk. So help desk system has different templates that you can choose from, and each template has different fields that need to be filled out. As a new charter, I'd imagine the first help desk tickets you'll submit is updating an entity profile, calendar change request, report assistance. But before you can access those applications, the school finance team has to create your entity in our systems. At this point, you've applied and been approved to start a new charter. The school finance ops team will assign you a CTDS number and an entity ID number for the charter holder level and the site or school level. If you have one charter holder and multiple sites under that charter holder, you'll have a CTDS number and entity ID number for all of those entities. Every entity within the state of Arizona that receives basic state aid must have what's called a CTDS number. The CTDS number is a smart number that indicates what county the school is located in, the type of school, the district number assignment, and the school number assignment. There are other types of CTDS or other reasons why a entity would have a CTDS number, such as purposes for health and nutrition programs or private day schools. And those are managed by those individual departments for health and nutrition and ESS. To request the CTDS number, you'll need to send the request to the SF analyst team email because you don't have access to the help desk. We will communicate with you via the SF analyst team email. You may receive an auto response saying, please create a help desk ticket. You can just ignore that for now until we can get you established in the system and we can get you started on help desk. Here's a copy of what the form looks like that you'll need to fill out and send to the analyst team. If you have questions about the form or are confused about something, you can simply email us or call us. We're happy to help you. Once we receive your form and the required documents, a CTDS number will be created. You'll receive an email from the team with your CTDS number and the entity ID. A request to our IT will be sent on your behalf to request what is known as the key and secret. This is used for the student information system that you choose. We'll talk about that a little bit later. So submitting the student data. As a new charter, you're going to have to start submitting the student data for the students that are enrolled within your LEA or your charter. The Department of Education has many units within AD that collect data. The data that is collected can include district and charter directory information, student data, staff, transportation for districts, healthy nutrition, grants, and so much more. Each department has its own method with which to collect the data. ADE Connect houses the data app collection systems for ESS, grants management, and so on. School Finances uses Common Logon, which Chelsea and I think Carla will go over a little bit later, the Common Logon application, and the AzEDS portal. The school finance team primarily uses the AzEDS portal within ADE Connect, and I'll show you in just a minute how the data is collected here. So what is AzEDS and what is the AzEDS portal? AzEDS is simply a data collection system that is used as a data standard known as EdFi. EdFi, or the EdFi model, is simply a list of rules to determine how student data should be collected and should be organized. So the way that AzEDS is mapped out or laid out is by organizing student data in tables. This is an overly simplified example of the types of tables that you would find in AzEDS if you were to look behind the scenes. Each table has detailed rules of how and where the student data should go. All of the student data is tied to a student by a unique ID. That unique ID is referred to a SACE number, which is old school language for a state student ID, or SSID, or oftentimes it's referred to as an EdFi number. Each table has detailed information about students. For example, which school they're going to attend, full-time equivalency, so FTE. TP there is tuition payer, so whether the student is eligible to receive funding. And this example, mind you, only shows a few tables, a very simplified version of the types of tables that there are in AzEDS, where in reality, there are over 50 plus different tables with all sorts of details within them. To view all of the tables that are available in AzEDS, you can go to what's called the use case. In future sessions, we'll talk in more detail about that. Data is transferred by the LEA, so local education agency or charters, by a student information system, or SIS. The frequency that the data is sent by the charter is set up within your SIS. All certified SIS vendors are posted online on the AzEDS website. Once you've chosen your SIS, this is where you're going to need that key and secret that I mentioned earlier. So I wanted to talk about the AzEDS process, and we're just going to go left to right to how data is stored within your student information system and how it's eventually sent to AzEDS. So on the left, we have our LEA and their chosen student information system. The student data is entered in the SIS by either the AzEDS coordinator, registrar, attendance clerk, and teacher. Depending on the setup within your SIS, new information is synced or published to AzEDS. The data flows through what's called the AzEDS API, or Application Program Interface, which is open 24/7. Once the data passes the API, it's available for viewing on the verification reports, which we'll talk about shortly. So here's just kind of an example of how the data flows through the API and lands on the verification area within AzEDS. And this is actually within the AzEDS portal. So the reports in AzEDS is generated at each stage of the data. Once the data passes through the API, the LEA, the charter can review the Trans 15. The Trans 15 report is a detailed report of the transactions that are sent. In tech talk, the transactions that are sent are also called the JSON, or JSON, which is JavaScript object notation. It's simply a format or a structure for the way that the data looks on the back end. Once the data lands in AzEDS, the LEA can see that their data is on the verification report. And then nightly, integrity processes, and so does ACE. If the student passes integrity and they are fundable, they'll show on the ADM reports. Once a month, ADM in AzEDS is pushed to the payment system. The payment system will show a summary level of what's posted within AzEDS. And we'll talk about more about ADM again and integrity in detail in future sessions. So if we pan out a bit further, we can see that even though the data is set up to run through integrity and ADM rules every single night, the student data that is sent to the payments team is only sent once a month. Those days that the student data in AzEDS is sent to payments is something called the data capture date. The data capture dates are posted on the website. A few days before the data capture, you'll want to reconcile your data to ensure that it's correct so that you are paid on the correct amount each month. I know that this is a lot of information, but don't worry. Again, we're going to talk about this in upcoming trainings. I'm almost done with my part of the student data portion of this presentation, but before I hand it over to Chelsea, I wanted to make sure that we review key terms that I've mentioned and will be mentioned in the upcoming slides, such as ADM. ADM is simply the formula that we use to determine payment. It's membership days during the first 100 instructional days of the AzEDS calendar that you're going to submit. And then that value is divided into two different reporting periods, in the 40th day period and then the 60 days, which is 40 plus 60 is your 100th day. For brick and mortar ADM, that's the formula for ADM. For Arizona Online Instruction, or AOI ADM, it's a little bit different in that we are, you're reporting minutes of attendance rather than reporting membership days. And then student counts is simply the ADM value that's used, that the payment system uses to consider your payment. And Chelsea will talk a little bit more about student counts. I also wanted to mention before I leave charter estimated counts that you submit to ADE. In the first and possibly the second payment of the year when you open in July, August, you will be paid off of charter estimated counts. That application is currently in Common Logon. We are working on getting that moved to ADE Connect so that it's a new application. We're going to send out more information in mid-May with memos and training. If the application is new in the new system, we're definitely going to have lots of trainings and instruction manuals. But I did want to let you know that for the first or second payment, you'll be getting paid on charter estimated counts. And at this point, I am going to hand it over to Chelsea.
Good afternoon. My name is Chelsea Jemison, and I'm the lead financial analyst for the school finance payment team. Next slide, please. So here are the topics we're going to cover today. We'll go over the three main components of the charter equalization payment, which is also called state aid. We'll also go over the charter payment reports, the CHAR 55-1 and the 64-1. After that, we'll talk about a few additional payments, and we'll also talk about the forms that you need to turn in to the General Accounting Office and State Treasurer's Office for payment distribution. Next slide. Okay. Here are the two main components for charter equalization. We have our base support level, which is your weighted student count by the base level amount, and then additional assistance, which is the unweighted student count by the additional assistance per student amount set in legislation. And we'll go over those more in detail in the reports. So for student counts are the basis for charter funding, and your charter payment is based on current year enrollment. So any questions about your student counts, you'll want to reach out to the SF analyst team through help desk once you get that set up. The student count is applied to appropriate weights that are set in statute for payment, and then funding is, again, directly related to your student counts. So that's really important that the data that is submitted and then sent over for payment is accurate. Next slide. After applying the appropriate weight, that weighted student count is multiplied by the charter's base level amount. And for fiscal year 21, the base level amount is $4,305.73. We should know what the fiscal year 22 funding components are sometime in April after the legislative session closes. And it is important to note that this base level amount is just that, it's a base or the starting point for the funding. The weighted student count is multiplied by that base level amount, and that is what is our charter's base support level. And then you can see that weighted student count determines the base support level. So again, we'll say this over and over, getting that information in and the student data for your student count is very important that it's accurate. Next slide. We mentioned additional assistance earlier, and again, this is the unweighted student count multiplied by that per student count amount that's set in legislature. And for fiscal year 21, the amounts for K through 8 are $1,875.21, and for grades 9 through 12, it'll be $2,185.53. Next slide. Okay, let's look at our payment reports, and we'll start with the CHAR 55, which is the equalization report. This is how the CHAR 55 report looks. It's 4 pages long, and this is the first page. It's for non-AOI, which is traditional classroom instruction. Under the student count section, the first line is for fiscal year 20 ADM or prior year ADM. This is not used for your calculation. It's for display only. The next line is the fiscal year 21 estimated counts, and that count is submitted by the charter through that estimated counts tool that's currently in Common Logon, and more information will be coming out on that tool. And that's what's used for payment in August and September. Next slide. This is also page 1 of the CHAR 55, but starting in October, we transition and use 100-day actual ADM to calculate the payment for the rest of the year. Under that, you can see the enrollment cap, and this cap is really important because this is what we use to limit your funding. So for example, if your enrollment cap is 250, but your ADM is at 300, we're only going to calculate and pay you based on the 250 ADM because of that cap, and you would need to work with the charter board to increase the cap. Next, you can see the weighted student counts, which is just the student counts multiplied by those weights. And again, all of those weights are statute driven. The next section is the add-ons, and there are 3 groups in the add-ons. We have K through 3, we have the English language learners, and then the special education students based on the different categories. And then the support level weights are applied to get the weighted ADM for those add-ons. Next slide. This is page 2, and this is only for charters who offer AOI full-time Arizona online instruction. Everything's going to be the same as page 1, except it is going to generate 95% of the funding. Next page. And then this is page 3. It's going to be the same as pages 1 and 2, but this is for AOI part-time, and it's going to generate 85% of the funding. And if you're planning to open an AOI school, contact the charter board for more information. Next slide. This is the last page of the CHAR 55, and under the student count summary, you can see that the first line is the non-AOI student counts, and that ties to the page 1. And then line 2 is AOI full-time, and that will tie to page 2. And line 3 is AOI part-time, which ties to page 3. And if you add all of these categories together, you'll get your total weighted student counts, which is used to calculate the payment. And you can see on lines 2 and 3 where the 95 or 85% of the funding is applied for AOIs. The base support level is calculated next by the total weighted student count, again multiplied by that base level amount. And if the charter had any base support level adjustments, that would be adjusted next to get the adjusted base support level. The next section is that additional assistance, which again is calculated by the unweighted student count multiplied by that per student amount that was set in statute. And then finally, we have the adjusted base support level plus the additional assistance, and that is your equalization assistance. This is an annual amount, and it gets recalculated every month based on that data submission on the data capture dates. Next slide. Let's move on to the CHAR 64-1, which is the payment report. First, we'll talk about the equalization or state aid payment schedule. It's 12 payments. From August through June 1st, the payment date is going to fall on the first business day of the month. For example, if August 1st falls to Saturday, the payment date for August is going to be August 3rd. And then your last payment or 12th payment is going to be the final business day of June. So if June 30th falls on a Saturday, payment 12 will be June 29th. Okay. This is the CHAR 64-1, and it's 2 pages. This is the first page. The very first number is the equalization assistance amount, which is the very last amount off of our CHAR 55-1. If you have any adjustments, the adjustments will be included in the second line, and then that's the adjusted equalization assistance base, and this is the amount that will be allocated equally through the year, about 8.33% each month. But this amount is again recalculated. That annual amount is recalculated every month based on the data that you submitted. So that percentage in the payment can change if the data changes your annual calculation. Next slide. This is page 2 of the 64, and this is going to have the description for any of those adjustments that were listed on page 1. Adjustments can be statewide adjustments, or they can be adjustments that are specific to the charter, and you'll see them listed here with a description and then the amount, and that concludes the payment reports. Next slide. A few of the other payments that the charter can expect: classroom site fund. That's a monthly payment as sales tax revenues are available. It's based on a per pupil amount that's set by the Joint Legislative Budget Committee, and it's based on the charter's weighted student count. Instructional Improvement Fund is a biannual payment, usually made in January and July. It's from Indian Gaming Funds, and it's based on the charter's percentage of the statewide total unweighted student count. Prop 123, we distribute twice a year, usually in December and May. For the Classroom Site Fund and Instructional Improvement Fund reports, we post those to our website. And for Prop 123 distributions, we publish hot topics. And if you need more information about the reports, you can contact the school finance payment team. Next slide. But kind of quickly on how to access our payment reports, this is the school finance homepage. You can see our hot topics in the middle, and you can access the Prop 123 distribution details or other payment hot topics there. And to the right is our menu, and you can see school finance reports. Next slide. If you click on school finance reports, you have county apportionment reports, and that will take you to a county page that has links for the Classroom Site Fund and Instructional Improvement Fund reports. You can click on any of those CSF or IIS links in any of the counties, and it will take you to where you can access your charter's payment report for Classroom Site Fund or Instructional Improvement Fund. And then back from school finance reports, there's also a district/charter student count report, and that will take you to a drop-down where you'll choose your charter and click Go. Next slide. From here, you'd simply select the fiscal year and CHAR from the system drop-down, and then you would see links to access the CHAR 55-1 and 64-1 reports. So we covered our charter state aid, we covered the Classroom Site Fund, Instructional Improvement Fund, and Prop 123 payments. Please see these links for the forms that are required by the General Accounting Office and the State Treasurer for payment distribution. And please reach out to those appropriate agencies directly for the proper submission steps on those forms so that we can distribute the payments. And with that, I will turn it over to Ms. Carla from our budget team.
Carla, we can't hear you.
Hi. Can you hear me now?
There you go.
Oh, sorry about that. Hello, my name is Carla Dunn, and I am one of the school finance budget team members. The budget team lead analyst is Daryl Hughley, and our budget analyst coworker is Brandon Sullivan. Today, I'm going to present an overview of budget topics geared to the business team of a charter that will be operating for the first time in the new fiscal year. A couple of the budget topics will be covered more in depth than the others. The topics were determined based on requests for assistance commonly received from new charter operators. Next slide. The budget overview topics are the budget report annual requirements, the budget resources that are available online, a list of the budget file worksheets, a select few examples that are for budget data for the worksheets most commonly incomplete or inaccurate, the budget upload and file processing through the AdEDS Common Logon, the fiscal year 22 budget form notes, a few helpful budget tips, and then last will be a refresher slide for school finance contact information, and then the Q&A session will be opened for all topics presented today. Next slide. The steps to the charter adopted budget upload to ADE by July 18th, as well as any due dates, which are listed in Arizona Revised Statute. The governing board will meet to approve its proposed budget at least 10 days prior to budget adoption. Then the charter will upload its approved proposed budget and budget adoption meeting notification through Common Logon to the ADE by July 5th. The charter will then post a copy of its proposed budget or budget summary, which a self-populating budget summary is included in the Excel budget file. So it's that summary plus the budget adoption meeting notification that will be posted on the charter's website if the charter maintains a website. The governing board will then meet to adopt its proposed budget by public hearing for a date that is at least 10 days after the proposed budget meeting and by July 15th. Then by July 18th, the charter will upload its adopted budget to the ADE Common Logon and post a copy of the adopted budget or adopted budget summary on the charter website, again, if the charter maintains its own website. The adopted budget may be revised during the fiscal year, provided all revisions are completed and approved at a governing board meeting before May 15th. The budget due dates are specified in Arizona Revised Statutes Title 15 Education Code. The ARS is available online and searchable at the Arizona State Legislature website, and the Uniform System of Financial Records for Charter Schools Manual, Section 4. Section 2 of the USFRCS is the detailed annual requirements calendar events. Since the picture displayed here is just the section for the budget due dates. Next slide. The budget resources available online are the Arizona Auditor General, the Uniform System of Financial Records for Arizona Charter Schools Manual, referred to as the USFRCS, which is at azauditor.gov, and of course the ADE School Finance at azed.gov. From the Auditor General's website, the charter will extract the charter school forms of the budget file, the budget adoption hearing notification, and the instructions for completing the charter school budget. Recently, the budget forms links on the budget resources page of the ADE School Finance website were redirected to the AG's website. So before the charter begins the budget process, the charter should read the AG's submission and publication instructions document for all information regarding budget completion, submission, and publication. The USFRCS is an important resource manual for the charter. This manual is the accounting and financial reporting manual for Arizona charter schools and prescribes the minimum internal control structure policies and procedures for accounting, financial reporting, budgeting, attendance reporting, and various other legal compliance requirements. The AZ Auditor General's Office is the point of contact for USFRCS guidance and questions. Next slide. The Excel charter budget file is composed of multiple worksheets bookended by the budget cover sheet and the instructions tab. Since most of the worksheets automatically perform math and bring forward certain amounts from one sheet to the other, please do not add or delete rows or columns or rename sheet tabs or copy and paste information from any other form. Values with dollar amounts rounded to the nearest dollar can and should be entered only in unprotected cells. As for ADE, ADE will only accept the Excel budget file electronically. The submission process, which is the upload of the budget forms to the ADE through Common Logon, will be presented in upcoming slides. When extracting the Excel forms from the AG's website, please maintain the file type as Excel 97 2003 workbook, that's the .xls extension, as currently the .xls is the only budget file format that can be uploaded to the ADE through the Common Logon. However, there are plans for the future for the budget system to be updated to allow for other upload file types, which that information will be forthcoming and posted to the school finance homepage when that time draws closer. Next slide. The charter budget cover sheet is the first tab in the Excel workbook. The order of the sheets or tabs does not indicate necessarily the order of completion. However, it is suggested that the charter begin with the cover sheet, if only to enter the name, county, and CTDS number, as this information is automatically transferred to the other worksheets in the workbook. All the information on the cover page must be complete when the proposed and adopted budget is printed for the governing board to sign. Also, all information, excluding the estimated revenues, must be updated and complete for when any revised budget is printed out for the governing board to sign. The CTDS number cell will only accept a 9-digit number. Do not include any slashes or dashes. The charter CTDS number entered on the cover is the charter's main CTD that ends in 3 zeros. The version of the budget being submitted is a drop-down menu. Select the correct version from the menu and enter the date of governing board approval for the version on its corresponding line. The detailed instructions from the Instructions tab in the Excel file will help the charter to prepare the budget. On the worksheets, the charter will find a clickable Instructions button. Blue font and light blue highlights indicate that an instruction is linked to that specific line. The charter's budget must include the average teacher salary of all teachers employed for the budget year as reported in dollars and percentage. As statute does not provide a definition of a teacher, Just plan to be consistent in the type of salary information included in this table year to year. For charters with this website, ARS requires that the charter post this average teacher salary table to a prominent location on the charter website homepage and separately from the expenditure budget. Next slide. The Charter Contact Information Worksheet is the second tab in the workbook. Please take the time to fill in the contact information for all positions listed on the sheet and type the charter details for information fields at the bottom of the sheet. If any of the business positions do not exist at the charter, please fill in the appropriate person to contact related to that topic. It is important that the email addresses are validly formatted. Blank lines should not be deleted. Actually, please do not make deletions on any worksheet in the workbook. Accurate charter contact information, especially contact names and email addresses for the charter representatives and business manager, are used by school finance to communicate and distribute information. If the charter does not have a business manager, please fill in an alternate contact that is not the charter representative to receive updates from school finance. Currently, the process to update the charter contacts, which would include email addresses or charter-related business information on this sheet, must be submitted through a budget revision. Next slide. The budget data entry worksheet and school-wide expenditures page 1 will be presented in this slide. I will not be going through the other sheets as they are fairly self-explanatory, but again, just focusing on the worksheets that tend to be most problematic for new charters. The charter will begin building its budget by completing the data entry page. Remember that the charter name, county, and CTD number are pulled from the budget cover sheet. There is no instructions button on the data entry worksheet because the instructions are included within the data entry sheet itself. The charter's proposed adopted budget version is based on, at the beginning of the year, the estimated student count for the grades preschool, K-8, and 9-12 for all categories of non-AOI, full-time, and part-time AOI, and for special education, K-3 if this applies, English language learners, and regular education. For when the charter revises its budget, the actual fiscal year ADMS reports for adjusted ADM, English language learners, and special education will be the source reports for updating the student counts, ADM, on the data entry page by grade level group and by category. In the future trainings that Monica mentioned at the beginning of her presentation, the ADMS reports that I referred to just a moment ago will be those reports covered more in depth by her team. The data entry worksheet is first for completion because the calculations and CHAR 55 worksheets are formula driven and updated based on the information entered on the data entry page. The budget calculation sheet weights the student counts entered, applies the additional funding increase for Prop 123 funding, for example, and totals the estimated amount of state equalization assistance the charter expects to receive for the fiscal year. The CHAR 55 page is self-populating and should mirror the charter's first actual fiscal year 22 CHAR 55 payment report that Chelsea referred to in her portion of the presentation. For some charters, the state equalization assistance is the only revenue amount available for the charter to budget expenditures. On pages 1 through 4, as those apply, the charter will enter its planned expenditures. School-wide expenses like salaries, employee benefits, and purchase services for regular and special education are entered on page 1. There are self-calculating subtotals and totals lines on pages 1, 3, and 4. As a reminder, please do not make any deletions. As well, please do not overwrite any formulas. Next slide. The charter will upload its budget through the AdEDS Common Logon. The completed budget files must be uploaded to the AdE through the AdEDS Common Logon at the AdEDS website using the School Finance File Upload Budget AFR application. If the charter is approved to operate, the charter representative should already have been notified of access to the Common Logon. If not, and the charter representative is familiar with ADE Connect, access the Help Desk tool in ADE Connect to submit a ticket to request a Common Logon account and permissions for the School Finance File Upload application. If the charter is not yet familiar with ADE Connect, the charter may call School Finance for assistance, dial the SF mainline, and choose option 3, which would be for the account analyst team led by Monica, or by email to schoolfinance@az.gov. Next slide. Once the charter logs on to the School Finance File Upload application via the Common Logon, the Information and Financial Services Budget Upload page opens. This page is the charter's main budget upload page for the Common Logon. The next few slides will drive by the process for uploading the budget files using this web-based budget application. However, it is suggested the charter read through the online help document that is the introduction to the budget application. Though the online document is not print-friendly and is somewhat dated, the process for uploading the budget and viewing status of submitted files on the ADE School Finance website has not changed. To view the help topic for uploading budget files to ADE, click the help link to open the budget application help document introduction page. Then scroll to the help topic links at the bottom of that page. Click the Uploading Budget Files to ADE link to view that topic, or click any of the other help links to navigate the budget application help document by topic. Next slide. To avoid any issue with upload caused by the pop-up blocker for the computer in use, please disable or turn off the pop-up blocker setting for the ADE website for the computer that's in use. Make the appropriate selections for all drop-down boxes that would include for the fiscal year, the file type, which again must be the .xls regardless of the options that are available, and the budget type and version. Note that the type and version selected on the screen must match to the version on the charter's budget cover sheet of the file being uploaded. If not, the file will fail upload for the version not as specified. So from the drop-down, just ensure that the type and version, in this case the proposed budget, is what's selected, and that for the file that's being chosen for upload is indeed the proposed budget. After all selections have been made, then click the Choose File button to locate the budget file to be uploaded. After the file is chosen, click the Upload button to submit the selected budget file to the ADE. The next two screens that appear after upload show the details of the file transmission and verification process. Next slide. Budget file processing verification of Common Logon consists of two screens, which one after the other follow the budget file upload. Please do not close the window before the file processing screens show complete and a transmission confirmation message is displayed. Closing the upload submission window may disrupt the budget upload process, causing the file to fail. Next slide. After the file processing screens, the Common Logon file upload verification page opens. This page is confirmation that the transmission and verification of the budget file upload is complete. The file verification page displays a submission reference number assigned to the file upload and indicates the success or failure of the Common Logon file transmission. If the transmission fails, an error message is displayed. The file was not received by ADE, and any issue indicated by the on-screen error message must be corrected before re-uploading the file. If the transmission succeeds, the final step is the charter checking the file status from the charter's budgets homepage of the ADE School Finance website. This on-screen file verification page will disappear once the window is closed. So if the charter needs to keep a record of this verification page, remember to take a screenshot because the page cannot be recalled later. Next slide. To learn the process to check the file upload's final status from the Charter's Budget's homepage of the ADE School Finance website, which is external to Common Logon, please refer back to the Introduction to the Budget Application Help document and the Topic for Viewing Status of Submitted Files help link. This final step of confirming the final file status of the budget upload matters because there are reasons that the file might be rejected with errors that are not related to the initial transmission of the file via the Common Logon. The file status messages, known as activity description, are displayed for the file on the Charter's Budget's homepage. A successfully transmitted and processed budget file will have an activity description of file processed successfully. If not, the file status message that is underlined should be clicked to expand the activity message description and detail for why the file status is something other than processed successfully. Corrections to the Excel file must be made before the budget file is resubmitted through the Common Logon. Next slide. The fiscal year 22 budget forms. These charter school budget forms are prescribed by the Arizona Auditor General and ADE School Finance and include all information required by ARS. The forms are reviewed annually and revised for legislative and other changes. The new fiscal year budget forms are usually available by the end of May. Visit the Auditor General's website at azauditor.gov to locate the zip files that contain the budget and instructions for completing the charter school budget. It might be helpful to download the current fiscal year 21 charter budget files, not only for review, but also budget practice to become familiar with the forms, worksheets, and reporting requirements ahead of the new fiscal year 22. The School Finance Budget Team is available to help. Please submit any budget-related questions or requests for budget assistance by email to sfbudgetteam@azed.gov. Next slide. A few helpful budget tips, some are which on repeat. For now, ADE budget files for upload must be of the file type Excel 97-2003 workbook, which is the .xls. There are plans for this to change in the future, but for now, all other file formats will fail upload. Alerts for missing and or incomplete budget data are displayed on the budget cover sheet in bold red font and should be resolved before the file is uploaded to the Common Logon. Please contact the School Finance Budget Team if you have any questions about the data alerts or how to resolve the alerts before file upload. Each version of the charter school budget must be approved by the governing board and include the governing board signatures as well as the typed names and signatures of 2 school officials. Within 5 days of a budget file upload to ADE, the approved scanned copy of the budget cover sheet for any version of the charter's budget should be emailed to the budget team. Please do not email the entire budget file, just the approved cover sheet that has been scanned and submitted as an email attachment. Lastly, don't forget to regularly visit the school finance website at azed.gov/finance for posted hot topics, memos, and other SF-related updates. Speaking of updates, the school finance website now has a subscribe button, which was added to the home page. So please consider subscribing today to stay connected with school finance and to receive school finance emails. Next slide. This is the refresher slide for the school finance contact information as well as staying informed. Please don't forget that we are here for you. Call us, email us, or sometimes LEAs do both. Next slide. We want to thank you for joining us today, and this concludes my portion of the presentation, and we'll now open the Q&A session. Please let us know how we may help you. Back to you.